For all of the problems on this side of the worksheet, it's important to note that we're doing ionic compounds, which means you're always going to be looking at a compound that has a metal and a nonmetal, or remember, a cation and an anion. And so there are simple steps that you'll use every single time to name all of these compounds. So let's look at problem number 1, CaCO3. Now if you look over on the side, I have the steps written out. So the step first is look at your first element. You have Ca, and you just need to write the name of that element. That's the cation. The cation always comes first. So the name of the element Ca is calcium. Hopefully we know that, but if not, it's on your periodic table. And then the next step, step 2, is either you're writing the name of the element if it's an element and changing the ending to IDE, or you simply write the name of the polyatomic ion if it's a polyatomic ion. Now CO3 is a polyatomic ion. It's made up of more than one element. And so you just need to use your cheat sheet that I gave you with your notes, find the formula CO3, and then write down whatever that name is. And so if you look, CO3 is going to be carbonate, and so the name of this compound is calcium carbonate, and that's all you do. Now there are a couple of different problems where you might have a different situation, and so the method you're going to use to name will change. So let's look at problem number 4 here, LIBR. Now if we want to name this compound, again, look at the steps. So first step is to write the name of the cation. That would be lithium. And step number 2, write the name of the anion if it's an element, and then change the ending to IDE. Now this is not a polyatomic ion. Br is an element. It's bromine, and so what we need to do is instead of writing bromine, we write the BROM, and then change the ending from bromine to bromide. And so our compound name here is lithium bromide. So that would be an example of when you would change the ending to IDE. You might have one other situation that's going to change the way you name these types of compounds, and that would be if you have a transition metal. Now transition metals are in the D block of the periodic table, groups 3 through 12. So if we look at problem number 6, FeCl3, we can look at what's going to change to name this compound. Not much. The first step is still the same. We write the name of the cation, which Fe is iron. But here's what changes. Because iron is a transition metal, it could have a +1 charge, a +2 charge, a +3 charge. And we don't know if we don't put the number inside of the parentheses. So in order to figure out what the charge is on this iron, we kind of do a reverse crisscross. We look to see what the superscript is after the anion. So we have a 3 there, which means that iron would have had to have been a +3 charge for that chlorine to have 3 atoms. And again, we do that because we're doing a reverse crisscross. And so the first part of our naming is done. It's iron 3. And now all we have to do is name the anion. Now Cl is chlorine. But again, chlorine is an element, and so we're changing the element ending from chlorine to chloride. And so the final name for this compound is iron 3 chloride. Now you don't have to do the Roman numeral every single time you do these problems, but if the cation or the metal is a transition metal, then you have to do the Roman numerals. Otherwise, there's no way of knowing what the charge is on that metal. And that's how you do these types of problems.